Dr. Herzberg, can you express something about what drives you to investigate scientific phenomena?
Well, I would say what drives me is simply curiosity. I like to know how things work. I like to know how to explain natural phenomena, because I'm concerned exclusively with basic science, and I'm not concerned with applications. Whether the particular study that I'm making is of any practical use, it doesn't interest me. If it does, well and good, but that's not the reason why I'm doing it. And I think you might say, well, I wouldn't say the majority, but many scientists have as their motivation, I think, curiosity about nature.
Is that the essence of science?
Well, I always like to quote a statement by the famous mathematician Jacobi of the last century, who said, the sole purpose of science, the sole aim of science, is the glory of the human spirit. And that is my motive. It's an intellectual activity that is similar in many ways to artistic activity. The artist, the painter, the musician, the writer, they all are motivated by lifting the human spirit in some way or other. That in science we have the additional fallout, so to speak, of practical things that will be useful for mankind is, for the motivation, not very relevant. For some people it is. I mean, of course, if a person wants to go into medicine and medical research or straight medicine, his motivation is different. But I'm talking about the motivation of a basic scientist, or my own. I mean, I can only talk for myself. I mean, if I want to ask, what are the stars, what are they made of, that's a question of, if you like, curiosity, but it has nothing directly to do with any applications. But it's still an important question to my mind, to me.
Would you describe that as a selfish motivation for doing science?
No,
satisfying your own curiosity? Or does it only pay off for you when it's a shared experience?
Well, it's certainly a shared experience, because it pays off when you have found something that other people recognize as being true. Then you feel happy that you have contributed to the body of knowledge that people have. And this contribution to the body of knowledge, I think, is perhaps the strongest motivation.
I want to explore that just a little bit. If you were a scientist in a cave and you were cut off from the outside world, or on an island that you couldn't get off, and you discovered a great truth by your observation, experiment and observation, is that still satisfying to the scientist?
Well, I would say it is still satisfying, but not as much as if you could tell other people about it and see whether they agree with you and whether you really have found something worthwhile. By worthwhile, I don't mean useful, but worthwhile from the point of view of knowing, of learning to know the reason why we exist, or the nature of things.
Someone once told me, a teacher once told me, that the nature of being a teacher is, a good teacher is one who has a compulsion to share his discoveries, and he was arguing that teachers have to continue to be students. What's your feeling about that statement?
I think that is a very high ideal, and that's certainly very much worthwhile. I mean, I feel by, for example, writing books about my subject, I share my knowledge with others, and that is something that I feel is worth doing, and is one of the motivations, if you like.
You are a teacher.
In that respect, I am a teacher. I was a teacher in Saskatchewan for 10 years, and before that in Germany. But of course, at the National Research Council, there's no teaching involved, other than incidental lectures.